Public service announcement, guys. Public service announcement. Do not sleep on the Toronto Defiant. They are going to be a good team this season, and I'm going to explain why. Let's hop right into it. I'm going to change the format a little. I'm going to leave the timestamps of the players, the coaches, the staff, the role in the description. So if you want to just look at a certain player, a certain coach, or whatever, or my reasoning why I think this team will do good, I'm going to leave it in the description or the comments below. So just go take a look at the comment, like, subscribe. Let's just hop right into it. I'm going to be starting with this player this time. I'm going to leave the coaches up to last. Let's hop right into it. We have this beast of a tank, the off-tank player, Envy. Guys, you guys should all know who this is. If you don't, I'm very disappointed. He was part of the Overwatch League Season 1, and he was dropped mid-season by the LA Valiant. And everybody was kind of surprised because they didn't understand why. Envy was such a good player for them. It kind of surfaced up that he was kind of a toxic player, and he started turmoil within the squad. According to these tweets by Envy, we can see right here that he was trying to integrate himself into NA mindset, but as a Korean, he just felt like the rest of the team was not putting the same amount of work as he was. And that's very upsetting. And we've seen this a couple times. We've seen this with players like Striker. We've seen this like with another player such as Effect, who sometimes they don't feel that their teammates are putting in as much work. His in-game performance was not affected though, and he still remained one of the best. And you're probably asking yourself like, why, if he's so good, did he not get picked up for the second half of the season? And I'm gonna tell you why. It was because, simply put, he decided so late into the transfer window. Since it was so late, so many teams had already picked up what they needed. There was just no spot for Envy on any roster. However, when he was in the league, he was regarded as a top three diva player behind Meko, Fury. He was the third best. Honestly, he would not have been dropped if Space was not as good as he was. And I'm gonna pull up some stats here. He had very similar stats to that Fate, and he had a more aggressive playstyle. So logically, in that more aggressive playstyle, he got more kills, but he also died a little more. And Space had a more defensive playstyle, so he died. He died a little less, but he also got a little less kills. But as you can see right here, their stats are very similar. Their KD, their time to kill, their first kill, their win rate on maps, their win rates per fight, very similar. They're all around the 50% mark, a little above 50% on most things. And if it wasn't for Space, he would not have been dropped. It would have been crazy to drop him. He was determined to come back in Season 2, and he spent his off time with Battle Bellum. He helped them finish in quarterfinals to Korean Contender Season 2. With an all-Korean squad now, everybody should be on the page. Language should not be a problem for them. And as a veteran, Envy can make the Toronto Defiant the team he wants it to be. He's going to be coming with the point of proof that he should not have been dropped in favor of Space. Space should have been benched over Envy. Hopefully, when Los Angeles Valiant versus Toronto Defiant comes in, Envy is going to come out on top. Next up, as the main tank, we have Yakpeng, also known as Lycan. He's been a quieter presence in the Overwatch scene. His best accomplishment today is finishing in second place in Korean Contenders Season 1 with O2 Ardent. He is known for an aggressive playstyle as well as a tank. His main heroes are Reinhardt and Winston. And with the new tank duo, and obviously an upgrade in Envy, I hope this player can take his gameplay to the next level. Now we have a DPS, another veteran of Overwatch League. We have Asher, and this time it's from the other side of Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Gladiators. Asher came into the league as a relatively unknown. He came in kind of quiet, and he didn't do much during the first stage. Something happened that he improved tenfold, and I don't think people noticed this enough. Shortly after Fisher got signed to the Los Angeles Gladiators, Asher had a huge, and I mean huge, improvement in his gameplay. And my reasoning is, I think this is why. It's because Fisher came in and the dive was meta. Fisher was the main tank, and Asher was the tracer player. So with language no longer a barrier between the main tank and the DPS player, they were able to coordinate their dives even better. And Asher benefited from another Korean joining the squad. Midway through stage 2 and 3, we saw this player pop off multiple times. And now imagine how much better Asher can be when he has an all-Korean squad. Sure, dive is not meta right now, but Asher was known for his McCree, and he was picking up on Widow. And his skill ceiling was looking much higher than anybody expected. At worst, what people can say about Asher is that he was consistent last season. And with an all-Korean squad, I think he's going to excel much better than he did last season. Next up, we have Ivy. Ivy is one half of the O2, the Argent DPS duo that got picked up for the Toronto Defiant. And he's often regarded as the better half. Ivy's a rookie. He's only has 1 year on his belt in the competitive scene, but he's just as impressive as any veteran in the scene. He's going to be Asher's flex DPS partner. He excels in heroes such as Genji, Far, and Junkrat. On the O2 Argent team, he was the carry DPS, and he's going to be looking to play the same role for the Defiant. Asher is a more quieter presence. He doesn't make his presence real known, but he does his work in kind of the shadows. And Ivy doesn't. He makes his presence known. He makes sure everybody knows that he's the reason why the team is winning. He was often the player that O2 Ardent would look for when they were needing a clutch play. He had a quick rise in Korea, and everybody started turning their heads, noticing Ivy. And he's coming into Overwatch League hungrier than most people because he's yet to prove himself. He's yet to prove himself, and he's gonna be looking to do that this season. Stellar has not been that stellar thus far in his career. He's arguably the weak point of the DPS trio. I see him more as a bench player this season. If he is known for one thing, it's known for his tracer. His tracer was great, but he was often regarded as a one trick. In the Korean Contender Season 1, they finished in second place, and that was when Dive was meta. In Korean Contender Season 2, when Ghost became meta, he kind of fell off a little. He tried to learn Bridget, he tried to learn Pharah, but he didn't really excel in them. The biggest take I can take from this player is that he seems very coachable, and we all know what good coaching does to a mediocre player. We saw what happened to the Boston Uprising. They had real good coaches, and that squad was able to excel because of it. We're gonna have to see Stellar improve consistently throughout the season. Now let's hop into Neko. Here's yet another veteran player of the Overwatch League, and I think you're starting to see the theme here. They kind of picked up a veteran player for a star player for each of these roles. One in tank, one in support, and one in DPS. And he's gonna be coming to Overwatch League on the wrong foot. He's getting suspended for 3 matches due to boosting, investigation, obstruction, unquote. Uh, Whatever that means. He fell out of favor with the Boston Uprising management, and he was let go during the offseason. It wasn't for a performance issue. It's simply put, Boston favored their other bilingual flex support, Angod, who kind of put up similar numbers to that Neko in Stage 4. But Neko was no slouch in his role, and throughout the whole season, he was regarded as the third best Zenyatta, behind only Jonak and Bedosin. And we know that Jonak is a whole nother level, and Bedosin is very clearly the second best. So being third is no slouch, and it's very impressive. And it's even more impressive when you think about who his support duo was. It was Calix, and Calix was clearly the weak point of the Uprising roster. Throughout all of that, a weak support partner, turmoil throughout Stage 3, Neko and his team went undefeated in Stage 3 and they made their presence known. Imagine Neko with an all-Korean infrastructure, a better support duo in Rocky or Aid, more likely Rocky. But he's going to be able to shine much brighter this season. Now let's hop right into Aid. Aid comes into the league with one of the best names a support player can have. He was recently part of the GGA contenders team that got relegated to Open Division. We all know that scandal with the Houston Outlaws Academy team. They ended up firing like a lot of coaches. Kai got fired. Blah, blah, blah. This is not about the Optic Academy. Aid, however, was not a weak point for his team. Him and his support partner, Gray, were a bright spot for the team, in fact, and both of them got picked up for Overwatch League Season 2. He's widely considered a sleeper pick, and we can finally expect him to let his presence be known in a better infrastructure and an all-Korean team. Now, just imagine all the fun these casters are going to have with the wordplay around Aid's name. Something like, an Aid came in with the clutch NATO boost to aid his Reinhardt, or something like that. I can just already imagine all the trolling people are going to be having in the Twitch chat. As of right now, it's kind of a coin toss who will start when Neko comes back from his suspension. Obviously, Neko's suspended, so Rocky and Aid are going to be playing in the meantime. But when Neko comes back, I fully suspect Rocky's going to be starting, just due to experience and better performances. But I can see Aid giving him some competition for the starting role, and we're just going to have to see where they go. All right, next up we have Rocky, and Rocky was kind of a last-minute signing for Toronto Defiant. It was so last minute that he actually had like a short stint with the O2 Ardent team, and it only lasted 8 days in November. That's how short it was. That's how last minute it was. He spent most of last year with X6 Gaming. He won Korean Contender Season 1. Many expected him to sign with the Hangshell Spark because they did pick up the X6 Gaming roster, but they decided to go with IDK. And then looking for some playing time, he ended up signing with the Toronto Defiant. He's best known for his Lucio, his Mercy, and I fully expect him to be starting. Hop into the management real quick. The head coach for his team is Bishop, and if you don't know Bishop, then you weren't paying attention to Overwatch Season 1. He was a C9 coach, he was the coach of the London Spitfire, and he's going to be bringing a lot of experience into this team. A lot of people are seeming to forget that this was the man who built the London Spitfire roster with the GC Busan and the Kong Du Pantera core. So he definitely has an eye for talent. And he as a Spitfire coach, he was able to win the Stage 1 title match over the NYXL. Shortly after this middle Stage 2, he and the London Spitfire mutually parted ways, and it kind of remained unknown why. It was rumored that he parted ways under player request. Bishop did make some mistakes as a Spitfire coach, but with experience, you learn from these mistakes, and I expect them to be nothing but spectacular this season. Now we have the analyst. We have Bari. Bari? Let's call him Bari. And this is the most exciting part of the team because he's living the Moneyball story. If you've never seen the Moneyball movie, spoiler alert, he turns a very small baseball team into one of the best. He uses stats to do it. He finds the best players stat wise, and that's how he's able to form his team. Bori is the founder of the Winston's Lab, and if you don't know what that website is, it's kind of the website that you use for stats and analytics of players and teams and just look it up. It's very good for information. An example of his prowess is he was kind of the first person to notice that the first death was so valuable in team fights. And so when he noticed that, more teams began playing more cautiously, and it resulted in a smaller loss of time. He kind of changed the dynamic around the first team fight in a game. Uh, Teams started playing a little more defensive, trying to protect each other, and in that way, he kind of changed the game. So now we're just gonna have to see what he's able to do with this team. What hasn't he shared with the rest of the community? What will he pick up on, and what will he use to make his squad even better over the rest? And this is the key reason why I think that this team will succeed. I think he has a very good eye, and I think that the stats do not lie. And I think the stats do not lie. Many see a very disappointing team when they look at the Toronto Defiant, but I don't see that. I see a very solid team with very good pieces. Imagine how good Dallas Fuel would be if they picked up Envy instead of RCK. Imagine how good the Houston Outlaws would have been if they had picked up Asher throughout Stage 2 last season. And how good Philadelphia Fusion would have been if they had Neko over Boombox last season. These players have the impact to make a team real good, and people are sleeping on this team. With an all-Korean team, there's no language barrier. They all have the mindset. They're all working to the same goal. You trust your teammates, and with star players like Envy, Nico, and our Asher, I see this team going very far, and I don't think they should be slept on. Anyways, guys, that's all for me. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.